everyone, and welcome back to Cardiac Radio for Teens. For those of you who might not know, I'm Bia, and Cardiac Radio for Teens is a place where teens come together with other teens to learn about Spiritist teachings and topics. And for the past few months already, we've been reading through the Spirits book together, page by page, to really understand everything that's being said so that later on we can go back and study it again and learn even more. But reading it the first time and trying to understand as much as we can is a really good way to fully comprehend and understand more about Spiritism. So last week we left off in the middle of a section that was titled Sympathies and Antipathies. So basically sympathies, we all know. Sympathy is like you're liking someone or you're feeling for someone. You're kind of in the same vibration, the same level. So antipathies, it's like not friendship. And the definition is like a deep-seated feeling of dislike. So it's the opposite of sympathies, basically. So we left off on question 295. And if you did miss last week, I recommend you go back so you can at least get the beginning of this part so it makes more sense. So question 295. What sentiment do those whom we have wronged in this world experience after death? So maybe right now, in this corporeal life that we're in, we wronged someone. What happens? What's that sentiment? What do they feel when we're up in the spirit world? And the spirits answered, if they are good, they forgive you according to your repentance. If they are evil, they may hold on to their resentment and at times even pursue you in another existence. God can allow this as a chastisement. So let's go back through that because there was a couple words that we really don't use every day. So they said that if the spirits are good spirits, they're going to forgive you according to how, if you're regretful. When they said repentance, they mean like if you're regretful, if you feel bad and you kind of apologize to them, they'll forgive you. But then they said if the spirits are evil, if they're less evolved, then they're still gonna hold on, like they're gonna hold on to that grudge through the spirit, and then they might even carry it into your next life incarnated like in a human body like we are. And they said God can allow this as a chastisement, which means that as a sort of punishment. So because you did something, this might be a sort of punishment for you to realize what you did was wrong. Question 296. Are spirits' personal affections susceptible to change? So spirits, their personal affections, are they able to change? And the spirit said, no, because they cannot be mistaken about each other. They can no longer deceive each other. They no longer wear the mask behind which hypocrites hide themselves, and that is why their affections are unchangeable when they are pure spirits. The love that unites them is a source of supreme bliss. So what they're saying here is that once you're in the spirit world, this mask kind of that we have on, that some people, everything they say is a lie, right? But when they get to the spirit world, it's not something like, oh, it's held in your body. It's like your thoughts. Everyone can see your thoughts. They don't communicate like we've mentioned before. They don't communicate like we do, that only what I say is what you're going to hear. They can see people's thoughts. They can see everything about someone. So you can't hide each other. You can't deceive each other. And then that's why their affections are unchangeable, especially when they are pure spirits. And they said that the love that unites these are the source of supreme bliss, because the pure spirits, they've gotten through all the trials that they've needed to, and now they have this bliss, this happiness. Question 297. Does the affection that two beings had for each other on earth always continue in the spirit world? So if two people have a good affection here on earth, are they going to have a good affection in the spirit world? And the spirit said, yes, of course, if it is based on true sympathy. However, if physical attraction has had more influence than sympathy, it will cease with the cause. Affections among spirits are more solid and lasting than on earth because they are not subject to the whims of material interests and self-centeredness. So what they're saying here is that if you're best friends because you really genuinely like each other and it's your sympathies, it's not because of wealth or because of what the person looks like, you're just genuinely friends, then you'll continue that relationship. But if you're only friends and you only have affection for that person because maybe they have a lot of money or because they're pretty or handsome, whatever it is, if it's a material thing, when you're in the spirit world, those material things aren't there. So that affection, just like if you only like someone because they're pretty, and then all of a sudden these physical traits and material things don't matter anymore, then you're not going to like them because you only like them because they were pretty, and now how we saw pretty doesn't mean anything anymore because we don't have those physical features anymore. But those who are really genuinely friends and who are genuinely connected and have these sympathies, like we were saying, they will remain friends in the spirit world. Question 298. Are souls who must get together predestined for such a union from their origin? And does each one of us have, in some part of the universe, our other half, whom we will someday inevitably join? So the question are souls like how someone says, oh, I have another half somewhere, or my soulmate, and these kind of people. So are souls who are get together, like predestined for a union since like their origin? And they said, and does each one of us have this other half? And the Spirit said, no. There is no particular and predestined union between two souls. Unity exists among all spirits, but in different degrees, according to their order they occupy. Example, according to their degree of purification. The greater their purification, the more united they are. All the ills of humankind are born from discord. Concord gives rise to complete happiness. So what they're saying is that no one's plans to be with anyone. No one has this other half, this soulmate that you need to be with and eventually will be. But we are united. The spirits are united amongst like they said, your degrees of purification. And we've talked about this before, how the lower level spirits, they kind of group together because they're kind of going through the same things, they're feeling the same things, so they group together. And we see that even in school. The athletes, they group together because they relate to stuff. The smarter kids who like studying, they group together because they like the same things, they have the same interests. So that's kind of how the spirits unite too, among their level of purification. And the more purified they are, they'll be in a level with more purified spirits who are all feeling the same thing. And they will be united, but not in a sense of a soulmate that you must have. Question 299. In what sense should we understand the term other half, which certain spirits use to designate sympathetic spirits? So they're saying, how should we understand the term other half? And the Spirit said, the expression is incorrect. If one spirit were another spirit's other half, it would be incomplete when separated from the other. So what they're saying here is that this isn't the right term to use to say you're someone's other half, because when you're separate, you're complete and you're your own spirit and your own person, and you're great by yourself. So if you had to be with them and they were half, then you would be incomplete by yourself. But you are complete by yourself. So this term other half isn't really what we should be using. Question 300. When two perfectly sympathetic spirits are united, will they remain so throughout eternity, or can they separate and unite with other spirits? So basically, when two spirits, they're completely feeling the same thing, they really, they get along really well, completely, in every way. When they're united, will they stay united like forever, for eternity, or can they separate and unite with other spirits? And the spirits answered, all spirits are mutually united. I am referring to those who have already reached perfection. In less evolved spheres, after a spirit has improved itself, it no longer has the same sympathy for those whom it has left behind. So what they're saying is that all the spirits, we're not talking about being united to one spirit. It's not a one-on-one thing, kind of like getting married here on Earth. It's not like two people getting married and that's it. In the spirit world, it's not really about getting married. It's just like being a big group of friends that you all unite and you all connect together and like sort of fit in. And they're saying for those who have reached perfection, they all fit in together and they unite, and it's not just two people coming together and uniting, it's like a lot of people. But those who are less evolved, and if they unite with someone when they're less evolved, once one spirit moves ahead, they're no longer going to be feeling the same things, and they're not really going to connect anymore because one is more evolved and one's less evolved. So then they will unite with other people. But those who are at perfection will all unite together. Question 301. Are two sympathetic spirits each other's complement, or is such sympathy the result of perfect affinity? So are they like complementing one another, completing each other, or are they like perfectly like the same? They feel the same things, they want the same things. And the spirits answered, the sympathy that attracts one spirit to another is the result of the perfect harmony in their tendencies and instincts. If one of them were necessary to complete the other, it would lose its individuality. So what they're saying is that it's not because these spirits they need to complete each other. It's because they have the same tendencies, they have the same instincts, they want the same things, they're thinking the same things. So they're in the same harmony, in the same vibration, so that's why they connect, and not to complete one another. Question 302. Does the affinity needed for perfect sympathy consist only in a similarity of thoughts and sentiments, or does it also consist in a uniformity of acquired knowledge? So basically the question is it only what they want and what they're feeling, or do you also need a certain amount of knowledge to have this sympathy with someone, this connection? So the spirit said, it consists of the degree of their evolution. So the more evolved they are, the more purified they are, kind of goes with also how much knowledge they have. So that is part of it. It's not just, oh, we feel the same thing and we thinking the same thing, but one is more evolved than the other. You're also in the same state of evolution. 303. Could spirits who are not sympathetic today become more so later? So spirits who, they're not really that equal, that feeling the same way right now, could they eventually become more sympathetic later to each other? And the spirit said, yes, all will be someday. Thus, when a spirit who today inhabits a certain less evolved sphere is perfect, it will reach the sphere where the others dwell. Their reunion will occur more quickly. However, if more evolved spirits have remained at a standstill because it has poorly borne on the trials to which it submits itself. So, what they're saying is that, yeah, we can eventually, all spirits will be united, because the goal is that when we all reach perfection, then we will all be united. So, as another spirit reaches perfection and another, they will be united, and eventually all will. And like we were saying before with the example that maybe one is more evolved than the other, so they don't connect really well. Once that one evolves up to that state, then they will connect together. So just because you don't connect right now, you can connect later once the other evolves more. Or yourself evolves more. And then there's a second part to this question, and it says, may two sympathetic spirits cease to be sympathetic? So two spirits who get along, can they stop getting along? And the spirit said, certainly, if one of them is idle. So if one of them decides, you know what, I'm tired of doing these trials. I just want to sit here for an incarnation or two and not really do anything, and the other spirit evolves and moves on, then then they can get out of that sympathy. And then Allan Kardec puts his own comment in, and he says, the theory of eternal halves is an image that represents the union of two sympathetic spirits. It is an expression used even in ordinary parlance and must not be taken literally. Spirits who have used it certainly do not belong in the highest order. The sphere of their ideas is necessarily limited, and they express their thoughts through the terms they use in corporeal life. We must reject this idea of two spirits created for each other, who must someday be inevitably reunited in eternity after having remained separate for a more or less long span of time. So what he was saying here is that the term other half or eternal halves, that's very incorrect to use, and people use that every day, but that's not the correct terms to use, and it shouldn't be taken literally. And spirits who are using these kind of terms, you know that they aren't completely perfect yet, because that's not really the best way to explain it, because it's still a very limited concept, and it's using what we think here in the corporeal world and not looking more at the bigger picture is what he's trying to say. Now we're moving on to the next part, which is still in the chapter Spirit Life, but we're talking about now the remembrance of corporeal existence. So question 304. Does the spirit remember its corporeal existence? So after we disincarnate, after we die from this physical body, when we go to the spirit world, do we remember everything that happened to us? And the spirits answered, yes. Having lived many lives as a human being, it remembers what it has been, and I assure you, sometimes it laughs, pitying its behavior. So they do. The spirits, they go up, and we know that we've lived many lives, and the spirit remembers all these lives. And sometimes they look back and they even laugh at what we've done. And then Allan Kardec puts his own comment in, and he says, like an individual who, having reached the age of reason, laughs at the antics of youth or puerilities of childhood. So he's comparing it to like a corporeal life. So when you're older and when you're looking back on your life, you'll think what you did as a teenager was so ridiculous or so funny, or even as a small child. So it's kind of like that. It's like when you go into the spirit world, you're looking at your life as if you were a baby, and you're like, oh my god, what was I thinking? Question 305. Does the memory of its last corporeal existence completely and unexpectedly return to the spirit after death? So is it when the memory of its last corporeal life, so the minute you disincarnate, if the minute the body dies, does it completely come to you that you know everything that just happened in your life? And the spirit said, no, it returns little by little, like something that appears out of the fog, and to the degree of the spirit fixes its attention on it. So it doesn't just come to you like all of a sudden you die and then you know everything that's ever happened to you. It comes back little by little, like little memories, like, oh yeah, I remember when that happened, or oh yeah. And it also, like, it's coming out, say it's like in the fog, but the spirit also has to try and focus on it to see it and to grasp it. Like if you're seeing a sign in fog, you can't really see it well, and if you're looking at the corner of your eye, you might not be able to see it, but if you focus on it, you'll be able to grasp what you're seeing. So it's kind of like that. Question 306. Does the spirit remember all the events of its life in detail, assimilating the whole in one retrospective glance? So, all the little events of its life, does it remember it in detail and just put it all together into one, like, glance? And the spirit said, it remembers things according to the consequences they hold for its situation as a spirit. But you should understand that there are circumstances to which attributes no importance whatsoever, and which it does not even try to remember. So what they're saying here is that the spirits, us, when we're going to be in the spirit world, we look back in the stuff that's affecting us. Like saying, okay, I need to improve this because of something I did in the past, or I need to make up for this because of something I did on Earth. So then they try and look back at those memories. They look back, oh, you see right there, that's where I did something wrong. I want to try and fix that. But some moments, like they said, that there's not really that much importance to where they are, what they're doing right now. So they won't even try to remember those. They're just focusing on, okay, what do I need to learn from? What do I need to fix? And they're looking at those key moments. And some little moments, they're not really concerning about. And they're not trying to remember it. And if they wanted to remember it, they could. But that's not what they're focusing on. Just those little unimportant memories. And then the spirits, and then they asked another question, and it said, could it remember them if it wanted to? And the spirits answered, it can recall the minutest details and incidents, events, or even thoughts, but when such has no usefulness, it does not do so. So the spirits can remember everything. They can look back and think, okay, when I was 12 in this life, at this day, in this minute, what was I thinking? And they can remember even that. But since it has no relevance whatsoever, they don't try to. But if they wanted to, they could. And then there's another part to this question, and it says, does it see the purpose of its past earthly life in relation to its future life? So is it connecting the purpose of the past life to what's going to happen in the future? And the spirits answered, assuredly, it sees and understands it much better than when lived in the body. It understands the need for purification in order to reach the infinite, and it knows that during each existence, it frees itself from a few impurities. So what they're saying here is that when we're in the spirit world, we kind of understand what's happened in our life and look forward to the future and plan for the future more than when we're actually living this life. So when we're in the spirit world, they understand it much better because they're looking at the goal. They can understand truly the goal of that infinite happiness, and we want to get there. So they even understand it more and learn more from that life when they're disincarnated and looking back on it. Question 307. How does its past life unfold in its memory? By an effort of the imagination, or like a picture it holds before its eyes? So it's how is the spirit looking back on this? Is it like in imagination, like in your head when you imagine something and you kind of see it? Or is it just like a picture that's right in front of you and you're just looking at it? And the spirits answered, in both ways. All the actions that it has an interest in remembering are as if they were present. The others remain more or less at the back of its memory or are entirely forgotten. The more dematerialized it is, the less importance it attributes to material things. You often evoke an errant spirit who has just left the earth and does not remember the names of the people it has loved or the details that seem important to you. That is because it no longer concerns with them, and they have fallen into forgetfulness. When it remembers very well, however, are the main events that aided it in its progress. So the spirit said that we see it in both ways. Sometimes you're seeing something just as like a memory, such as like imagination, just like when you're daydreaming, you're like, did that happen, did it not? And sometimes it's just like picture clear right in front of you, you see that this is what happened. But it also depends on what the spirit's interested in, and most of the times the spirit is looking for what it needs to improve, what it did wrong, or what it did right and helped them to evolve. They're looking at these important memories and material things like, oh, how much money did I make? What was my job? They kind of start forgetting those things and what were my friends that I have. And if they were just like people you just saw and said hi to and didn't really have that much impact on you, then maybe it's just you're starting to forget it. But those memories and events that are very important are the ones that we recall. So that's where we'll leave off today. But before we leave off, I'd like to read our message from the Daily Book of Positive Quotations by Linda Picone. For today's date, June 27th. Preparedness. In the fields of observation, chance favors only the prepared mind. Few people really have all the luck. Most of those we envy have set the stage for their successes. They were ready for luck to come along because they studied or saved or watched for opportunities, and then seized the moment. We can prepare ourselves for luck as well. In fact, we'd better, or we may find ourselves out of luck in the long run. I can't be lucky in life if I don't create circumstances that will allow me to prevail. I'm Bia, and this is Cardiac Radio for Teens. Thank you all for listening. This has been Cardiac Radio for Teens. Thank you all for listening.